I'm really excited to get on today to talk to you guys about this topic because this is something that came up for me. And I was kind of shocked when I discovered this. I was like, really? I thought I was over all that. But I like to share my journey with you guys because this is how this works for us. Like, there's layers. There's layers to this journey. And we might get ourselves into an amazing place, a fabulous place. We're really functioning great, but we're always growing. At least we're intended to always grow. So if we're showing up for that growing and we're always growing, guess what? There's going to be another layer of healing that we need to do, which is the case with me. Now, I'm going to try to unpack this in a very streamlined way, but I do want to share with you guys that I do have tips and tricks and practices that are going to help you stop ruminating on the past so that you can trudge forward into your life with the most amazing energy and start attracting the most amazing life to you. So as recovering people pleasers, which I own, and I am doing a fabulous job with it because I've been at this for some time now. However, I look back on my life often, like, not consciously. It's not like I go, oh, I need to think about these things on the daily. But when I'm telling a story or talking about something from the past or using a point from the past or something in my own personal life and experiences, what happens is sometimes I end up retelling a story of something that happened to me. And I will tell you that I'm no stranger to betrayal. I am no stranger to disloyalty. I am no stranger to people talking behind my back. I am no stranger to losing friends that I thought were my BFFs. I am no stranger to any of these. Good morning, girl. Good morning, little iodine. Anybody else is in here, I can see you all. Give me a little shout out. I would love to see who's in here today. So if you are someone who is a recovering people pleaser, which majority, I'm sure. Oh, Andrea, good. Good morning to you too, dear. If you are a recovering people pleaser, which, and Julia, hi everybody, I got the crew. A recovering people pleaser, then you, chances are, I don't even have to guess that you have been gone through the ringer, that people have mistreated you, that they did not appreciate the love and the attention and the understanding and the giving that you brought to the relationship. And many times, here we are, this person, because we are people pleasers are the people who have fine-tuned what it means to be a good person. Yes, we have our healing, all right? I'm setting that aside, but we know how to be nice. We know how to be considerate. We know how to be compassionate. We're empathetic. We show up for people. We're the ones that, anybody needs anything, we're like, I'll help you, right? We're also tend to be the go-to person for a lot of people. And then when we need somebody, they're not there. And oftentimes it can be somebody like our best friends or a partner that we had or a family member, people that we really truly thought would be there for us. And the interesting thing is, as recovering people pleasers, because we are so concerned with the other people's experience, that it's very rare that we even go to other people for help. There's a spectrum of that. There's always a spectrum in everything I'm talking about, you guys, because we're all so incredibly different. But there's, it's rare. But then when we finally do, they might be put off. They might be like, yeah, this is annoying. Now, they may not say it to you because you do have this history. They are your friend. But you can tell energetically that they're just not there for you. So put that section aside for now, and then let's move on to romantic relationships and the betrayals and the crap and the lying and the cheating and all the things that come with dating takers. Okay? And I'm using the word taker right now instead of narcissist because narcissist has a particular set of traits, and I'm not here to diagnose anybody. If you've already realized that your person is a narcissist, that's cool with me. You decide that. I'm just going to use takers. I actually use these two terms in my upcoming book, The Recovering People Pleaser. I start off with narcissists and people pleasing, and then I start to move into givers and takers, because that's really what it's all about. We're the overgivers, they're the overtakers. Okay, so if we've been in some type of relationship with these type of people, we've been hurt. We've been betrayed. I mean, a betrayal, you guys, is even as small as a lie. That's a betrayal of trust. Okay? This is another thing. In the past live that I just said, I talked about, I forgot what I was about, but I was talking about, owning abuse. Calling a thing a thing. Abuse is abuse. Own it. Whether it's mental, physical, emotional, whatever it might be. The same thing is true with betrayal. Betrayal is betrayal is betrayal is betrayal. Okay? And many times we don't want to own those things because it depends where we're at in the spectrum of people pleasing and overgiving, because we don't want to call somebody else something bad. We don't want them to feel bad. We've got all these things wrapped up in why we don't call a thing a thing. But part of healing is to call a thing a thing. That's why I made that last live about, if it's abuse, y'all. Call it abuse. It's what it is. Because when we call a thing, the awareness is there. We're no longer hiding behind the veil. We're not hidden. When we're hiding behind the veil, we're not seeing things clearly. And unless we know exactly what the problem is, we can't have a solution for that exact problem. Because we'll be trying to navigate all these other arenas rather than the straight arena of that's abuse. The same thing is true with a betrayal. A betrayal is a betrayal is a betrayal. And it hurts. And it sucks. And sometimes we forgive and we move on. Sometimes we don't forgive and we move on. Sometimes we forgive and stay in the relationship. Sometimes we don't forgive and we stay in the relationship. There's all these pieces and parts. And the reason why you don't see me guys the reason why you guys don't see me a lot, really, sorry, I got a text from my daughter. She's home from school today. Ruminating on certain things and really trying to beat the heck out of certain concepts is because it's really solution that I'm looking for. Because we all know that things suck. We all know that we have self-doubt. We all know that we're lacking confidence. We all know that for the most part, that we've been abused. These are the things that we know. Yes, it is important that we discover that and we pay attention to that. And we're we call a thing. But yet, there's so many people on YouTube that are discussing this stuff at length. That's why I don't talk a whole lot about what narcissism is. Because, my God, Dr. Ramani and who's the other guy? God, I love him. He's an older gentleman. He's darling as can be. Surviving Narcissism, maybe, is the name of his channel. I don't remember his name because his actual handle is a name. I think it's called Darling Man, completely darling. He even teared up one time talking about in a video. I was like, oh my God, he's so cute. He's so cute. Anyway, so I don't get to spend a lot of time talking about what it is. I do here and there because if I feel like I have a different take on things or there's a different layer or something that I've experienced, then I feel like it's pertinent to share that with other people because many times we've all experienced the same stuff. But what I'm here to talk about most of the time on my channel is the healing. The healing. That's why we're here. The healing. I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to feel better. I felt terrible. I had anxiety and depression and, oh my God, the thoughts ruminating and the fears abounding. The fears, which was causing the anxiety and the depression, by the way, because faith-filled thoughts cause joy and appreciation and happiness, but fear-filled thoughts cause all the darker emotions, the denser emotions. You'll also notice that I don't call emotions positive or negative. I don't even call them positive. I call them light emotions for positive emotions, and I call them dense or dark or heavy emotions for what people call negative. The reason why I make this distinction, and I make it in my book too, is because no emotion is ever wrong. They're all serving. And these harsh... Thank you, Little Iodine. She says, thank you for not talking about narcissism. She wants to work on her. It's one of the reasons why she listens to me. And I really appreciate that because that validates what I feel inspired to do and to be here with you guys because I needed this too. I needed this. I want to share it with you guys. I still need it now. Okay? So now I was going to say, oh, the dark emotion. So anytime that we label emotion as negative, that means it's wrong or bad, typically. Okay, people are like, oh no, you shouldn't have that. That's a negative emotion. Don't have that emotion. And I actually want to give a talk on emotion too, but I wasn't sure how interested people would be on that because it seems like it's a large part of our healing journey, guys, and here's why. Because emotions are the indicators to what is going right in our life and what is going wrong in our life. So, hi, Nora. Welcome, welcome. So, what is going right in our life and what is going wrong in our life? So, when we're having feelings like frustration and anger and sadness and, resentment, that's a huge one. I wanted to make sure I brought up that word in this talk because that's part of the rumination. Okay, but I'm going to get to that. When we have those things going on inside of us, if we are a person that is ignoring those things, then we can't focus on what's happening. Because a lot of people want to numb emotions. They want to numb it. They do it through alcohol. They can do it through pot smoking. They can do, I just looked at 11:11 on the timer. They can do it through sex addictions. They can do it through shopaholic stuff, workaholism, anything that they can to, excuse me, I'm swallowing my own spit. I'm sorry, you guys. Binge watching Netflix, the numbing things. And all of those things can have its place. I'm not against alcohol. I'm not against shopping. I'm not against weed smoking. I'm not against any of those things. But any time those things are in excess, chances are that we're trying to hide from something or run from something. And again, a lot of times this is unconscious. We're not consciously going, I'm going to go numb, okay? Or I'm going to go avoid these emotions. Or we don't like consciously say that. We feel like, I got to go, I just got to go shopping. I got to get on Amazon and see what's there. I got to have this instant gratification, these quick fixes that come to me. So I'm not against those things, but it's very pertinent to pay attention to when you're wanting to do those things and be honest with yourself, because self-honesty is the key here, you guys. That's why I said calling the thing a thing. Be honest with yourself, like, wow, I am kind of drinking a little too much, or I'm drinking every night. I used to drink once a week, or man, I spent $1,000 last month on clothes that I didn't need. I still have tags on things in my closet, those type of things, okay? Anytime it's in excess, and you can see that I will never, ever, 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 ever shame you, ever, because we're humans, and this is the stuff that we do, okay? Because we have this whole other side of our our psyche that does these things. We have this unconscious stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and the brain is trying to protect us. Okay, the ego is trying to protect us. So it's leading us in ways that are not serving to us. And all it takes is consciousness. That's all it takes. Conscious awareness. That's it. When we become conscious of those things, we have changed trajectory, even if we have not stepped 1 foot forward on that path yet. Okay, just saying, I'm using drinking for an example, just saying like, wow, I'm not a drinker, so this is not pertaining to me. I used to be. I just don't drink anymore. It doesn't agree with my body, and I don't agree with it, with my body. We don't have a good relationship. So I'm allergic to alcohol. Anyway, but let's say you're noticing that you're drinking, okay? And you're like, okay, gosh, I'm drinking a lot, or whatever it might be for you. But you're like, I don't want to admit this because that's going to mean something's wrong with me, or I got a problem. Or, oh shit, now I even got more shame. No, okay? That's not what we're doing here. We're just having the awareness of the thing. That's it. Wow, I'm drinking a lot. Conscious awareness. You brought it from back here to this autopilot mechanisms of handling thing to up here. That's it. Frontal lobe. Now you can deal with it. But that doesn't mean you're ready. That doesn't mean you want to. There's all kinds of things involved with this. However, you literally change trajectory, just one little pivot, because now you have a new awareness. The same is true for recognizing if you are being abused, like I talked about in the last live, have been or are currently being abused. If you have suffered through lots of betrayals, I swear to God, I feel like I'm the queen of betrayal. Like, there has been so much that if I told you guys all the stories, some of you would relate to probably a lot of them, but you'd be like, holy crap, girl, This is why I think there's like this weird thing that goes on. Like I was supposed to go through those things so that I could talk about those things. Like sometimes I think we have certain callings in life, but that's another story. So I won't get into all that. So calling a thing a betrayal. Now the reason why this came up for me, all right, betrayal hurts, wounded, pain, people treating you poorly, disrespecting you, not giving the love that you gave, not giving the loyalty that you gave, any of those things, they completely suck. And they hurt so bad. They hurt. It's like, now here's something interesting about me. And if this is, you guys relate to this, give me a little comment, okay? I'm resilient AF. I am so resilient. In fact, I was called that once for my brother, and I was also called tenacious. I didn't even know what the word tenacious meant. I had to look it up. This is a while back, maybe 10 years ago. Maybe more. I don't know. Anyway, so the tenacious and the resilient Kristen who bounces back from things is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, nor what I'm about to say is about spiritual bypassing. But my resilience to bounce back over things and go, well, that's a thing. That's a wrap with that friendship. That's a wrap with that relationship. And understanding the truth of it is a large part of that is amazing. And that's a big expansion of spiritual growth. But there's these little quiet, tiny things in the recesses of our brains that recently came to light for me. That's why I'm here sharing this with you guys. I was talking to my husband, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, and I said something to him, a sentence, and I go, hold on. Picked up my phone and wrote it in to be a live conversation, because I was like, this is a thing, and people need to know about this because we want awareness. Awareness is key. If you guys haven't yet, I have a podcast. Haven't yet listened. I have a podcast called the Sweet Empowerment Podcast on all major podcasting platforms. I'm probably up around 150 episodes. There's a few recent new ones, but you'll hear me say, there's so many good topics on there, you guys, and it's very different things that I talk about here. Not very different, all within the same wheelhouse, but kind of just go check it out. Anyway, if you want to. I must say in almost every single episode on there, remember this, I'm like, well, I'm saying this again, is this okay? But we need repetition. That's how we learn. I will say awareness is key in at least every single episode on that thing. At least maybe not in the beginning ones when I was a newbie podcaster and I was, still had a lot of fear around public speaking, but definitely midway on, for sure. Or maybe even sooner than that. But anyway, awareness is key, okay? What we become aware of, we can handle. What we are not aware of, we cannot handle. This is why Kristen Brown likes the truth. I want the truth. Even if I don't agree with someone's truth, okay, because it's their lower T truth, that's just their reality, their perception, I want to know what they're thinking. Okay, it's not my job to fight it or argue with it or whatever, but I want to know what they're thinking, because now that truth is coming to me and it's on the table and we can handle it. We can't handle it when we don't know. We can't deal with what we don't know. Then there's also capital T truth, which is truth of the highest energetic possible truth, universal laws, things, the energy, all the things of the cosmos, God, universe, source, all of those things, that's the capital T truth. I want to know. Because when I have adopted capital T truth into my life shifted. Boop. Every time it was an up level. It was an up level. So awareness is key, and that's why I wanted to get on here and say, are you ruminating about the past? Consciously or unconsciously? Apparently, I was unconsciously ruminating about the past. I thought I was just telling stories. But the other day, it was about a week ago, my husband and I were sitting on the patio talking. And I don't know, I know, and I mentioned it in one of my recent lives. So this is going to be an interesting tie together for you guys who listened to the live where I spoke about this. I had a dream. about my very, very best friend growing up that we were like this, frickin' frack. First periods together. We smoked her mom's cigarettes sitting on the curb out in front of my house. First drinks together, alcoholic drinks together. First sexual encounter, not together, like we're doing it together, but, we're friends during all of this. She was maid of honor at my wedding, blah, blah, blah. Long story. But there was a betrayal that happened later in life. And I understood because I had gone through a lot of spiritual healing. And I understood and I got it, why she did what she did and why she said what she said. And the fact that she's no longer in my life. I got it. I understood. And I moved on. And I didn't spiritual bypass it. I felt it to the extent possible at that time. And I moved on. But every once in a while, something will come up and I'll think about her. Then I had a dream. That dream that you guys heard about. And I woke up the next day, I don't know, went to the gym, did whatever, was driving home, and I found myself crying. And I was crying, and I was like, God, you don't know how much I loved you. I still love her. She was my very best friend, childhood best friend. And I was talking to her out loud going, I know you couldn't see this. I know you were so hurt and so wounded and whatever, but I was crying. None of that really matters. What matters is that it came up again. There's a part of me that had not released that completely. I thought I had. I have a happy life, you guys. I am so effing grateful. The life that has come post-tsunami. I am so grateful that I showed up to things. I'm grateful for the health of my family. I am grateful, for all the things. I'm grateful for the place that I am at this point in my life. I'm joyful. I wake up happy. I'm a happy person. So, and that's not a spiritual bypass, fake happy. The other day, some song came on. I don't know what song came on. I was dancing in the kitchen. I was dancing, and my husband kept trying to talk to me. And then all of a sudden, my 17-year-old starts dancing. We're just being goofy. We're dancing to this song. Can't remember what it was. If I wish I knew, I'd put it on my song list. Probably some 90s little bebop-y thing. Or hip-hop-y, I don't know. It was a dance song for sure. And my husband kept trying to talk to me. And he was like, honey, and I was like, I wouldn't stop. I kept dancing because this was going to be 2 minutes till the song was over. The old people pleaser would have stopped. Would have said, what do you need? Let me tend to everybody else. But my spirit was saying, dance, Kristen. I have not danced in a while. So I was dancing, and afterwards I went to him and I said, okay, I feel good now. Tell me what's up. Okay? And then he was like, oh, just whatever. I didn't even know what it was. So my point is that I'm a happy person, and yet this thing was still hiding within me. It was just another layer. It was just another layer. And I spoke about it to him, and being typical men, who aren't super in touch with their emotions, he's like, that's the past. I'm like, I know, but it came up for me. And I'm still feeling some kind of way about this. And I need to process this. I know what this is. So I have this group of people. I call them my mighty companions. It's people that I met on a wisdom app. And we have turned into dear, dear friends. And one of them recently said, hey, if anybody wants to do a card reading, let me know. And you know who raised their hand. Because I love spirit. And I know her. And I trust that she is a conduit. Well, guess what came up? I don't remember the exact card because she was working with 4 decks, which I had never seen before. Go her. And the whole entire thing was fascinating because it was talking about me showing up, taking the next step in my journey, which I knew. Because I recently, last week, had a little dark night of the soul moment, a little spiritual tantrum. And I know when those things happen, that's just the pressure getting really hard so that I can bounce back. Okay? It's like pulling back a rubber band. Like the rubber band was getting pulled back so that I could shoot forward. It doesn't feel good, those dark nights of the soul, right? We have to honor those emotions. And I honored them. I honored my frustration. I honored my anger. I honored my mad. I don't even know what feeling. I can't come up. I wasn't angry. That wasn't really the feeling. I was kind of angry, but angry more with like, not with a person, a situation. Anyway, so my point is that I got into that space and I was like, something's about to uproot here, and I know it. And so the dream came up because this was another layer. Well, guess what she said? Now, she didn't know any of this. She didn't know any of this dream I had of my former BFF. She didn't know. And she said, I'm not going to be able to quote this because I don't have the papers in front of me. I'm a terrible quoter, you guys. I'm not that guy that quotes movies. But I'll tell you one thing. I will remember song lyrics. Like, my husband looks at me, something from the 60s, and I'll like sing. And he's like, how do you know this? I'm like, I don't know. It's something to do with the way my brain works, but I can't quote things. I don't remember quotes. And so she said something to the effect of like, oh, the cards were don't stop, recovery, and something else. And she said, you're recovering from something still. And I can't remember what the third one was. But then as the cards went on, it said something about more emotional healing. Well, I'm a person who's prided myself on my emotional healing. I still have emotions. I still have feelings, of course. But I've done so much inner work. And she was, but I could feel it. I was like, yeah. And then she kept talking, and it was something to do with the past. She goes, you're holding on from some shit from the past. Mic drop. I'll catch it. I was like, I totally am. And I didn't even know it until last week. So her card reading was, it was very validating to the experience that I was already having. And then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I don't consciously ruminate on the past. And I was not carrying around resentment for this person. And when I'm saying this person, I want you guys, there was a lot of people. So I'm just narrowing it down to this because that's the story. But I'll get to that. Hopefully I'll remember. So I wasn't only carrying it around. I was like, I'm still feeling some kind of way around this. This was shit. How could she? That was the feeling. This is, you guys, over a decade later, living life, happy, amazing, mighty companions and friends in my life. And this comes out because it needed to. And she said to me, she talked to me about my work, which was very interesting. And she was saying that what Spirit wants you to do, you need to be the ultimate, clearest channel. Because here's what I feel about channeling. People think it's like this, we all channel. Let me just put it that way. Okay, we all channel. We all are streams that are connected to the stream of consciousness. All right. So she was saying, in order to continue, like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm a special channel, because I'm connected to the stream of consciousness. So she said, Spirit, where Spirit is taking you, you need to be a clear channel, like even clearer than you think you are. I was like, ooh, okay. So I explained to her what had come up recently. She goes, this is it. This is it. And I told her this. I said, friend, I have had more betrayals. I have had equal betrayals from friendships than I have had with my romantic partners. And the healing work is the same. Okay, it's always the same, returning back to love, the unconditional love of self through the self-love practices, right? Healing any trauma. If you guys got like really serious, hardcore trauma, then you might need to do something a little different with therapy or what have you. However, it was the bulk of it I had healed. And here's what's even more fascinating. I don't carry around this resentment, hidden resentment, for my past lovers, I'll call them, whatever relationship that was. I could give a hoot. But that friendship, there was still something hidden inside of me. And I wasn't aware of it. So Spirit brought it forth to me, for me. Because everything is happening for us, not to us. That is a tough concept for people to wrap their heads around. They get mad when I say that. But I'm over worrying about people getting mad, which was one of the steps on my spiritual journey as well. Being afraid to be a truth teller and speak what I know to be true, because afraid of people, the egoic, unhealed people being mad about it, okay? Or victimized people, people that are choosing, we've all been victimized, choosing to remain in victimhood, okay? Poor me, pity party, that type of victimhood. Because there is healing. We've been victimized and there is healing, but you get what I'm saying. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So I needed to look at this, and I needed to own it. I needed to say, that was shit. I was ready. I was ready. And it feels so good to be ready. And it feels so good to know with unwavering faith that anything that I am brought to, I am going to be brought through. And this is the same with you. We get so caught up in form, the outside world, that we forget that we're on a spiritual journey. And it's returning back to that spiritual journey when shit hits the fan, when it's tough, when it's painful, when you're kicking and screaming. You felt that recently too. Turning the corner, girlfriend, proud of you. Yeah, proud of you. You're not the only one, by the way. There's many people in my life right now, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't do a lot of Venus in retrograde things, because every time someone said, oh, woe is me, Venus in retrograde, I was having a great day or a great week. So I was like, But I do feel like there's a shift right now. And I don't know what that is. All right. But I do feel like something's happening where a lot of people are really being called to go higher and go to the light. Not the dead light, not like you're dying and you're going to, I don't mean that. I mean, go higher, going to the light. And Andrea, you stepped up. You said, I accept this mission. And that's why you're feeling better. And I'm proud of you. And I hope you're proud of you. And I always say, you guys, I do this with my coaching clients. I always say, give yourself a big hug. I'm afraid I'm going to hit my microphone, but give yourself a really big hug and literally pat yourself on the back and say to yourself, you are kicking ass. You are doing so good. I'm so proud of you. The same way you would someone that you love. One of my clients who I coached for about a year solid, she still to this day said to me, she goes, I tell everybody that, because that changed her life. That building herself up changed her life. So please give yourself a hug and a pat on the back. And anybody else who's listening, for anything, it doesn't have to be some spiritual breakthrough. It can be, I handled that phone call better. I handled that difficult person better. I didn't feed into that. I didn't fold with my boundary, whatever it might be. Every single stinking time. Good job. Good job. You're resetting your foundation. You are resetting your foundation. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, so moving forward. Well, what point was I on? Okay, I want to talk about, so if you're holding on to past grievances, okay? If you're consciously holding on to past grievances, let's go there first. Consciously, like you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm pissed. I'm mad. It's okay. Feel that emotion through to fruition. And then take it to spirit. Take it to God. You're mad, you're angry, you're resentful, whatever. Feel it through. You're a human being. There's a reason you feel that way. We don't all of a sudden, well, I mean, sometimes we can read into things. I'm talking about the true crappy things that happen. Okay, so let's leave off the I'm taking things personally or I'm being too sensitive portion of that. Okay, that's for a completely different talk. This is about the true things that happened that was BS. Complete BS. And you're feeling some kind of way about it. That's okay. You know why? Circling back to the beginning of this talk, because your emotional guidance system is trying to tell you something's wrong. Something did not go right. Somehow your sacred self was attacked or infringed upon or whatever you want to call it. Somebody pushed into your sacred self and did you dirty. And it's not cool. It will never be cool. Ever. It's not okay. We don't condone. Condoning is not a thing here in my community. Okay? But when we say, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm whatever, I'm sad, I'm depressed, whatever the thing might be, honor that emotion. Think of yourself as a small child that's feeling this way. Don't discount them. Validate them. You have a right to feel this way. That was shit. That was not okay. That'll never be okay. You have a right to feel this way. Sit with it. Allow the density of that to pass. Because any emotion that is recognized and fully felt will pass through the density of it in 60 to 90 seconds. Don't tell yourself stories. Just let the feeling, the physical feeling to pass through. It will pass. Then on the other side of this, you know what I say? What am I supposed to be learning here, God? I'm not getting it. I don't know what this is. This hurts, but I know there's a message here because this is happening for me, not to me. Those words, I couldn't tell you who I heard them through first. I don't know. I was reading and studying a lot of spiritual literature back in the day during my College of Kristen, which was after my tsunami, where I took 2 years off to remain single and celibate. I didn't know it was going to be 2 years. I just said I'm remaining single and celibate for as long as necessary until I figure out what the bleep is going on, why I keep attracting these type of people in my life. And I did it because of romantic relationships, and I later realized I was attracting friendships that way too. Okay, not anymore, but I was. It took about 2 years because I wasn't in a hurry, and once I started to feel my self-worth, I was really enjoying being single. It wasn't like an actively like, oh, I love this so much, I love being single. It was like I didn't mind it, like it was just a non-thing. I had no attachment to being single or not single. I was happy, I was joyful, I was living life. Okay? So when those things come in, those emotions come in, ask yourself, the for me taught not to me. So I heard that somewhere along that journey, and this is where mental discipline comes in with our healing journey. I took everything that happened in my life and I said, how is this happening for me? What am I supposed to be learning? And the message came because I was open. There's something to do with an open heart and mind that has everything to do with everything. Because we can ask these questions, but not really want to know. Well, I asked the question and the answer didn't come. Okay, 2 things. One, you really didn't want to know. If you're honest with yourself, again, back to the self-honesty. We got to be honest with ourselves, you guys. It's the best thing ever. Your relationship with you is the most important relationship ever, besides a relationship with God. So if you're not honest with you, you're in a betraying relationship. How about that? You're betraying yourself. Yeah, not fun. So I asked myself, what am I supposed to be learning here? And I was open and I wanted to know. I wanted to know. But if you don't want to know, be honest that you don't want to know. Okay? And then if you ask, clear the space for the message to come. 2 ways of doing that. One is consistent meditation. Now you can meditate or you can just practice being in the present moment, day to day throughout your life. Right now I'm sitting in my car. I'm talking to you. I'm in the present moment. Already I felt a couple things channel through me, stream through me. God's like, use this word. Use this. When I said anything that I'm brought to, I will be brought through. I was not thinking that. That just flew right through me. God's like, this is a good time to place that. So that's the type of things that will happen when you're in presence and you're in meditating. You're going to create space in your brain and the answer is going to come. Then when the answer comes, what you're learning, then learn the lesson. Okay? Pass the test. Just like a chapter in a book, you're just learning a lesson. Okay? History class. Okay? Flip through, take a little test, you pass the test, you move on to the next lesson. Okay? Sometimes we have a little reprieve. God's got your back, you guys. God's got your back, and we are not given anything that we can't handle. Okay? But I want to stay on topic with the ruminating here. So you've been hurt. The situation's been sucky. And you are here right now listening to me right now in this moment. And anybody who listens to this on the replay, which frankly, I'm surprised how many replays that my lives get because they're so long. I didn't think I would get that many replays. But it's shocking to me, which is good. I'm happy. I'm happy. That means people are wanting to hear this. But just know that you're here for a purpose right now. This is part of your path. You wouldn't be hearing this. I'm not making that up. My friend did not reach out randomly out of the blue to say to me, you want a card reading? She actually reached out to a group with us. I was the only taker, the only one that said yes. Then I took the card reading and it was amazing and it was all validation. And she's like, well, I know this is just a lot of validation for you. And I said, no, hear me well. I came to a lot of these conclusions on my own through, connecting with God and asking questions and journaling and doing whatever I'm doing and, meditating and things like that. I said, but they're not really solid when I come to them first. By you saying this to me now is like it solidified the cement. I know this is what I'm supposed to be working on right now. I felt it, and I've come to trust my feelings really well. So I felt it and I knew. But man, her coming in right on right literally on the tail end of me figuring that out, like, figure it out, here's her. Like, it was just like right there. That was and I feel like Spirit knew I needed that. So she was guided. She kept saying I was guided to ask this question. I was guided to put this in our group. I was guided. And she did. And she kept saying that throughout the night. She said, I was guided to this. I'm like, I know. And it was a fat yes to me because I knew. Okay. So me ruminating on the past, when I was thinking about this particular friend in particular, even though many of them did it, female friends, and I'm not talking about people that just you kind of grow apart from and they leave your life. Okay, I'm not talking about that. And it can be guy friends too, whatever. I'm talking about people that are in your life and they're your people, like you think they're your ride or die, right? They're cards to you. They're greeting cards to you. Or just, you can't live without you. You're amazing. And you spend all this time with them and then they do something like, what? So there's a part of the little girl inside of me that still can't wrap my head around the fact that little girl that I was BFFs with and we went through all the things, periods, tampons, cigarette smoking, drinking, first sexual experiences with our, boyfriend, all those things, that how many years later, because I still coveted and loved and cherished her, all these years later, she could do that. That's because it wasn't the little girl in her that did that to me. So I'm looking at this little girl friendship and wondering how that little girl, she grew up into an adult. She had a lot of things happen to her. She had people in her ears. She was lost. She was afraid. And that's the best it looked at that moment. But we're coming to the crescendo of what we're here for. The tools, y'all. The tools. Okay, hold on. I decided I was going to drink this while I'm talking because I usually let it sit there and then I have to go home and microwave it. I don't want to microwave it. Okay. So, this is another thing I wanted to mention is why do we need to stop ruminating on the past? Okay, first of all, let's be honest with ourselves. It feels pretty good sometimes, doesn't it? It feels pretty good to talk about that shit. That's because the ego loves it. And there's a side of you that loves it. Talking about how bad that person is, how wrong they are, how they did you wrong, how dare them. There's a part of it that feels good. But the part of it that feels good is the ego. So remember, I always say this, we don't want to play with him. He's not doing us any good, or she. Little gremlin ego is nothing that's happening over with him, with her, or whatever it is not doing us any good. So me sitting around, being honest with myself that it feels good to talk about the betrayal. Now, granted, I feel like I have to disclaim. When you're in a public forum, you're going to notice a lot of us content creators disclaim all the time because people will take something you say and they will run for it. I'm not talking that I sat around and bitched about this stuff all the time by any means. I got way too much happening in my life. But if I got myself into a place and it felt good to sit there and I wanted someone to tell me how bad it was, that was terrible, I'm in the wrong space. Validation is great, but then we have to move on, okay? So the ego wants to keep us stuck, and it's going to keep us in that space, and it's going to talk about it more. But God says, let it go. Let it go. So the problem is that these type of things that we are ruminating around the past, and again, spectrum, we don't know how deep anybody is into this. We don't know how long they've been carrying their grievances. We don't know how profound the betrayals are, like spectrum. So I'm just kind of throwing this out here for you to be your own authority, to process through your own filters, your own higher self filters, so that you can decide what works for you. Because what happens is these things are going to show up in our life. And it showed up in mine. Because all those friends that betrayed me it promoted me to stop trusting friendships. How about that? I wasn't trusting friendships. Now, I didn't go from this complete over-truster, which is what I was, okay, complete, use no discernment, trust like crazy, everybody's trustworthy from go. That was a lesson learned. Okay, no one, we need to use discernment. I didn't know that because I'm so trusting that I projected that everybody else was going to be trustworthy too. So I was like, yeah. And so from being the completely over trusting person, I didn't pendulum all the way over, which we can do sometimes, to not trusting at all. Because a lot of times the pendulum will swing the other way. No, you know what? I'm having an awareness. I did. I pendulumed. I pendulumed some, but it didn't look like that because I still had friends. I still had things going on, but it didn't look like I don't trust anybody. Didn't look like that. It was this little tiny niggle inside of me that says, don't get too close. Don't get too close. Don't do it. You will be betrayed. And I noticed that inside of me, and I said, okay, you obviously are taking this past and you're bringing it present. Talking about ruminating on all the past betrayals is making this very present for me, and it is causing a filter through which I am seeing who is now the most amazing people. People that I can truly feel, do not trust a soul now. Yeah. I understand. Well, hopefully this will help you, little iodine. Now I use discernment. And I feel. Because back in those relationships with those people, I could feel a little bit of something, but I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't really paying attention because I was just having fun. But there was always this little something inside of me that was like, be a little bit careful here. Be a little bit mindful here. Be a little discerning here. But I wasn't, because I was taking face value. Okay? Now, little iodine, I use discernment. I go inside and I feel my way. And let me tell you something. When we come to a certain level, this is A Course in Miracles. I love this. When we come to a certain level of our spiritual healing, it says, in walks your mighty companions. Basically to link arms with, and help each other the rest of the way. So fascinating that we don't have our mighty companions in the beginning. Sometimes. You may have some. That's your journey. But there's part of us that have to get to a certain level of healing to where those people now recognize you and you're arm in arm, because I can name 6 people right now that I know if I really needed them, they would be here in a second. One of them the other day, because he was on one of my lives, and it was a couple lives ago, and he says, I was listening to your live, blah, blah, it was amazing, this and that. And he said, I was listening really hard because I was wondering if this was an SOS and I needed to swoop in, but it looked like you handled it. I was like, come on, man. Who has swooped in? I got that now. But I had to go through the process of not trusting at all. Still having friendships and stuff, but there's just part of me going, to learning to come to the center. Okay? Because that's what this is about. Anytime we're over on one polarity, that's not working for you. Just like extreme amounts of happiness to because the outside world gave you something, you get so happy. What happens is you will pendulum over to not so happy, because this is where we function the best, is right in the center. Otherwise, we're going to experience extreme highs and lows, because we're going to be reliant on the outside world to dictate for us. Okay? So it could show up in cynicism, negativity, trust issues, a fear of speaking up. There's many ways that this can show up if you are still unconsciously holding on to the past or consciously still ruminating about the past. And I want to move forward right now to talk about the tools, the practices, the tips, the tricks that I myself use to get out of this. Because when I realized this the other night with my husband, this was before my card reading, I said, I gotta cut ties here. I'm like, tonight when I go to sleep, that's what I'm going to meditate on, is cutting these ties. And I did. I went to sleep. Now, here's what's interesting. I forgot about it. And I went to sleep, and I'm laying there, and all of a sudden, in through the right side, it said, cut your ties. And I heard it, and it's my God voice, because my God voice is my voice, but it has a certain tone. And I was like, thanks for the reminder, because our ego voice and our God voice is the same. It's our voice. It just has different tones. It has different levels of volume. It has a different level of energy. So I heard that, and I was like, and I remember going, oh yeah. Like, it literally reminded me, because I went, oh yeah. Okay. So cutting, if you're noticing that you're ruminating on your past a lot, be aware that you are holding yourself in an energetic space that's not serving you. Okay, I'm going to move forward just so, because the sun's starting to move, and I don't want... Yeah, oh, that's better. It's not coming in my eyes. That you're holding yourself in an energetic space by doing this. Again, we don't know until we know. But you guys that are here listening to this and are going to listen to the replay, you obviously need to hear this because you're here. So this is going to be serving for you as well. But you are your own authority, and you get to choose when, how, if, when that you want to do this work. Okay, so one of the things that I do, and I started doing this way back when I was going through my College of Kristen. I had just gone through my tsunami. The kids and I were living at my mother's house, and I did this every morning in the shower. And if I was thinking too much about, because I remember I was hung up on that guy. I don't know if you guys, I don't know who's in the room right now, but if you've heard that story, I was really hung up on a guy. Actually, that story is in my book, the upcoming book that's coming out April 11th. The Recovering People Pleaser, a spiritual guide to reclaim your true worth and attract the love you deserve. That's launching April 11th. And if you buy it on Amazon between 12 and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, United States, you buy the Kindle version, then you can help me be an Amazon bestseller. The Kindle version is only 99 cents USD, but you could also buy the paperback if you want it. I don't listen to Kindle. Okay, but when I've done this for other people, I'll buy the Kindle version, but then I buy the paperback too, because I need this. I need to highlight. Okay, so back in that day, when I was really hung up, I would cut the cords, which means I called an Archangel Michael, and this is because, and I'm not a huge Archangel person, but I read this and I said, I'm going to do this practice, and I call an Archangel Michael. And I said, please remove and cut all energetic cords that are attaching me to this person. Because this person, I am still energetically supplying them. And any energy that I am giving out is energy that I can't utilize as my own. Okay? So I imagine Archangel Michael coming in, cutting all these cords off my body, removing all these cords, these energetic cords. Then I picture a big vacuum Archangel Michael's vacuum coming in through the top of my head, and I see from the bottom of my feet, the tip of my toes, all the way up through my body, all dark, dense energy, blackness lifting out of my body up through the vacuum. Then Archangel Michael attaches another one and infuses me with light. And this is all a visualization process. Okay? Dr. Joe Dispenza 101. Where your focus goes, energy flows. So these practices to some people might feel like, but here I am 10 years later doing some weird, archangel practice that because I heard it someday and I tried it. Just, I'm like, I don't know much about archangels, but okay. Let me tell you something. Every single time I felt lighter. Now, again, I was in a very dense place right there, but I felt like I felt like a sigh. Okay. So that's one of the things, is to cut the cords. Stop supplying them with your energy. The more you're focusing on them, your energy is going towards them. Okay? Pull your precious energy back. It's for you, your energy. You get to be the steward of it. You get to be the magician of it. You get to know where it goes and how you want it to feel. And the next one is that I call this letting go with love. This is the next tip. Okay, I'm getting email texts from my girls. Okay, the next one is letting go with love. Now this sounds strange, but I call this a graduation party. Okay, what do I mean by that? Letting go with love. Okay, we don't want to let go with the resentment and hate and whatever, again, because that's energetically going to affect us. Letting go with love is kind of like when your child graduates and is going to go off to college. You let go with love, sort of graduation party. Let go with love. So the practice that I implement is I imagine that person and I say, thank you for the time you have spent with me. Thank you for the love I received from you. Now, I'm sending you a pile of loving energy, and you go do you. You are no longer allowed to be present in my present. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean you do this to your kids, okay? I'm just saying letting go with love. That's where I'm drawing that parallel. And I did this practice. I let her go with love. Go. Go be you. Me sitting around ruminating on this is only hurting me. I don't want to hurt me anymore. Again, it was unconscious, but it became conscious. And things like this will become conscious for you too as you begin to heal. You'll be shocked. You will be shocked at this. You probably already have stories about the stuff that comes up for you because the healing journey is so solo. It's so unique to us that it could be this tiny little thing that comes in and we're like, oh my God. But you go to tell somebody and they're like, oh, great, because they don't get it. You got to honor you, okay? Letting go with love. The next one is forgiveness. You guys know, huge advocate of forgiveness, okay? What is forgiveness? That is releasing the toxic ties that bind you to that person. I'm not going to get all into forgiveness because there's a whole nother live stream on this you guys can check out. But basically what it is that you are understanding that that person did the very best they could at that time, even if it was complete crap. You're so in conscious contact with yourself that you understand how out of conscious contact that person was with themselves. Okay? And be willing to call in your higher power's help if you need it. God, I am willing to forgive this person. If you don't feel any sort of relief or you're like, nope, I sure don't, then you say, I'm willing to forgive this person. The key is to mean it. Can't lie to the universe energetically. You cannot lie to the universe. Then the next step is, you still don't feel the relief? I'm willing to be willing to be willing. I'm willing to be willing to be willing. Now, I'm not saying that's my story right now. I'm just saying, hypothetically, okay. And then you're going to notice that you will have a relief, okay? Forgiveness. The very last one is breaking the chains. Breaking the chains, and this is enough is enough, okay? Enough is enough. Where I literally took a chain, like a big, it kind of looked like a machete in my mind's eye, but it was strong enough, it probably some golden magical weapon that it could actually break chains. And I was thinking of like big chains, you guys, that was chaining me to this ruminating. And I took a machete type big golden thing, magical unicorn sword, and I broke the chain. I said, no longer. I don't have time for this. This is not serving me. And I want to do from this point forward what is going to serve me. This is not serving me. Enough is enough. And I feel so much better. And I invite you guys, if you are holding on to something or you're super ruminating about the past, like I started off this live stream with, I'm, as recovering people pleasers, you've been hurt, you've been betrayed, you've suffered disloyalty, you've been abused. There's a lot. But we got to heal from this. We got to heal from this because you've got a life out there that is waiting to happen. The universe wants you to win. God, I have a quote on my bulletin board, and it says this. It's a quote from Jesus. It says, "It is our Father's good pleasure to give us his kingdom." You know what that means? God wants you to win. We're not here to suffer. So when you do this work and you put this stuff into place, you are going to heal, your energetic vibration is going to shift, and you are going to attract the most amazing life to you. So I said, you know, a lot of people have left the room, but I'm going to go back to live chat just to be sure. Okay. Little Iodine said, resilient AF as well. However, I want to enjoy time now. I am thinking not only trained to have to be to survive. Oh, dang it, it went away. I had my finger on it so it wouldn't, but maybe that doesn't work. Okay. I am thinking not only trained to have to be to survive, but what about ego? Did I feel tough because I proved I was tough emotionally? Yeah, anytime it comes to the ego, Little Iodine, you just got to be honest with yourself because you already know whether it's ego or not. If it's not love-based, it's ego-based. Okay? So if you're not functioning from a place of love, which is all things of God, forgiveness, understanding, compassion, acceptance, yada, 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 then it's an ego. Because here's the truth. We are in one of two places at any given time. We are not in both at the same time. Never this. Okay? You're either in our higher self, our God self, or we're in our lower self, our ego self. They don't do this. And it's thought per thought per thought. Like one thought might be higher self. Another thought might be lower self. Okay? We could stay in our lower self for years, or we could stay in our higher self for years. But the best way to answer that question is to ask yourself, is this my ego? Chances are you're asking the question, it's your ego. It probably is your ego. That's what I've discovered. If I'm asking if this is ego, it's ego. Because with the higher self, there's this energy of neutrality, there's this energy of peace, there's this energy of joy that doesn't promote us to ask that question. But that means that there's usually something kind of simmering inside of you that is promoting you to ask that question. So if you're still in here, I hope that helped answer your question. So I don't know who's left. I don't know who's in here, but I would super appreciate if you guys gave me a thumbs up. You click the like button of this live stream right now because it helps YouTube recognize, it helps to affect the algorithms, helps get these talks out more, and helps me to build my channel because I'm getting super close to monetizing, which, by the way, I just discovered that my husband was listening to one of my lives, one of my first lives. He goes, honey, there's like 7 commercials on there. I'm like, what? Oh, thank you so much for this info. I'm going to save this one for sure. Great, Andrea. Great, great, great. And kids, I'm not sure what you mean by kids, dear. Kids, question mark. I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe you can clarify? But anyway, he said now there's, so they'll start putting ads on your stuff without your permission because they can do that we're not getting paid for. So if you guys are seeing ads right now, I'm not monetized yet. And those are, that's just what YouTube does. So it's kind of poopy because it interrupts my viewers' experience and I'm not getting monetized for that. So anyway, Little Iodine, I have to jump off. You said kids question mark. Please feel free to write your question in the comments and I will address that in the comment section, but I have to go. All right. Thank you. I saved this because it is great. You guys are awesome. I love you guys so much and thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. Andrea, if you're still in here, you asked me the question. I was trying to think how I could message you. You asked me the question about how to connect more with Spirit, or get more connected with Spirit. Hopefully you're still in here. And I was going to get into my community tab and see if you had commented on anything. And I was going to over loving. Oh yeah. Okay. I was going to give you a link, but I haven't looked for it yet. In my lives, I believe, if I remember correctly, I go in at length about connecting with your divinity and your higher power. So I believe I've already answered that question, because that's been on my mind that you asked that. So go over to my lives. There's not a whole bunch of them, so it's not like 400 videos you have to scroll through. There might be 10 or 12, I don't remember. And scroll through and see if it's one of those. And because I'm pretty sure that I did that. So hopefully that will be there for you. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Little Iodine, give me a little bit more explanation what you mean about over-loving, over-giving to kids. I don't know that you can ever over-love a kid. Over-give, you can spoil a kid for sure. But with parenting, I believe it's all about balance. I believe it's like unconditional love mixed with good, pure parenting and consequences and those type of things. Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Look for it. So what I've learned in my parenting journey, and I actually want to, this is strange, but I want to write a parenting book, because I believe conscious parenting, there's a few things that we can do for our kids that will, honestly, if we can get those couple things good in our relationships, we're going to have amazing relationships with our kids. But I don't believe you can over love anybody. Loving is not the problem. Giving is not the problem. Understanding is not the problem. Accommodating is not the problem. The problem is when we go over much at the expense of our well-being. If it's at the expense of our well-being, chances are it's not good for the other person either, because we're either enabling or we're spoiling or we're perpetuating narcissism or something like that. All right, you guys, thank you for being here. I love you guys so much. I love having these conversations, and if you have any questions, please feel free to do that. Also, I would love if you're listening to this on the replay or you're new here, that you subscribe and turn on notifications, and feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll be happy to address them. Okay. Much love, everybody. Peace.